Welcome back, guys. It's your neighborhood Caelesti thing here, and today I'm going to be talking about the visual enchantments updates. A lot of you will know that 0.19 was planned to be the visual enchantments update, and for those of you who don't know what that means, basically visual enchanting is the idea of removing the enchantment glint entirely or adding it back in a different way and changing the way that an item looks based on the enchantments that it has. Now, this is a really popular concept. It's been done many times. It usually gets done for things like the books, so you'd have a different texture based on what enchantment and enchanted book has. For the time being, I'm actually working on the tools. Now, I figured out the other day that if I was going to do every single tool in the way that I planned to, it was going to be, I think it was over 1,500 textures, unfortunately, because there is a lot of complexity to this. And let me just briefly explain. So as you can see here in this chest, I've already done quite a lot of the textures. You will have seen these in the thumbnail already if you looked at the thumbnail. And as you can see here, we have multiple different levels for each mutually exclusive sword enchantment. Now, I'm learning a lot more terminology here in how to describe these things, which is good. Basically, the mutually exclusive sword enchantments are things like Sharpness, Smite, Bane of Arthropods, and basically those enchantments can't be combined together, as a lot of you or all of you will already know, and that is why they are mutually exclusive. Now, this is a really good starting point for me in terms of visual enchantments, because it means that there is an enchantment that can only ever be alone on a sword. And that's a really good thing to work with, because the complexity here is the idea of having multiple enchantments on the same item and being able to detect that and change the texture. Now, let me give you an idea of the complexity that this really goes into. I recently discovered a resource pack by a guy called Sisku, who I'm now in touch with quite regularly to develop this new aspect of Caelesti, because he basically made a resource pack called Visual Enchantments, and it does quite literally that. It adds a visual enchantment for every enchantment in the game, and it also adds a number of combination enchantments. So if you were to have something like Sharpness and Fire Aspect, you would have a different texture. Now, before discovering his pack, I didn't even know that was possible. So I'm hugely grateful for that discovery, because it means that I have the option to do this huge update. But as I've quickly discovered, it's a fool's game. It really is. There is a lot of work to do. I am down to do it, but there's a lot of work to do. Now, to give you guys an idea of what I'm worried about, obviously a lot of you will know that I released the nether update quite some time ago. I've got all the stuff for it over there still. And I released that update unfinished. The reason for that was because I worked on it non-stop without thinking about any other aspects of the pack, and I just burned out completely. I did the netherrack color map, I did the Soul Sand Valley CTM for the firegrass, I did the new textures for the stems and the netherwort and so many other things. I made the skeleton model, the soul fire skeleton model thing. I did so many things, and it wasn't great by the end, because I did about half the things that I wanted to do, and by the time I finished, I just burned out. So I rushed out some textures that I wasn't entirely happy with, the crimson stem, and of course I just released the update and said we'll just come back to it and do the rest in the future. Now, I basically learned after doing that update that doing bulk updates like that is not a good idea. It's not a good idea at all, because I just burn out and I end up not being able to do the things I actually want to do. Now, the solution to that, of course, is to just take the update slowly, do a small thing at a time. Now, if we look in here, these mutually exclusive enchantments, as I'm calling them, are a really, really easy task, because as you can see here, I have 7 different textures for the wooden sword, because we have like a regular and maxed version of each enchantment. That's what's going on down here. You can see if we have Smite 1, it's like a cleaver, and if we have Smite 5, it's just a fucking ginormous cleaver, which I think is fantastic. I love the gold one, by the way. This is silly. It's so silly. But of course, the idea of the gold tools is that they're like, you know, dumb. Like, this wouldn't actually be practical, so that's the whole point. But yeah, I still love the way that this looks. I think it looks fantastic, and I'm going to stick with this style for now, for sure. Now, one thing that I wanted to do, a lot of you will remember this actually, I wanted to make it in the future that I would animate a custom enchantment glint on only the blade of the tool. Now, that can't be done with the game's built-in enchantment glint system. You have to actually manually animate the sword blade. Now, that's not something that I can actually do pretty easily. I'd be able to just simply make a generic enchantment glint texture, which looks way nicer than Vanilla's attempt, and just simply paste it over every tool, but only where the blade is. That's a really, really easy thing to do, actually. Now, that's something that I will do in the future when all of the texture changes have actually been done, because obviously model changes couldn't be done after that's been done. But yeah, so this is a great starting point, basically. There is a lot of stuff that I need to be getting around to in the near future for sure, but for now, this is a great starting point. So basically what I'm going to do in the visual enchantments update of 0.19 is very simply make all the mutually exclusive textures for all the swords and all the tools. And by that I mean things like Silk Touch and Fortune, because again, as a lot of you will know, you can't have Silk Touch and Fortune on the same tool. That wouldn't make any sense. And yeah, the reason for this obviously is that if you're looking in your inventory, I'm sure a lot of us, myself included, will often carry around a Silk Touch pickaxe and a Fortune pickaxe when they're mining. And of course, you'd be able to simply have a glance at it and you'd realize which one is which without having to check them. And that's kind of why visual enchanting is such a cool idea. So yeah, that's basically it really. Originally the plan was for me to just work on the visual enchantments update basically until it was finished, but obviously that's never going to happen because this is a huge task and I had no idea how much I was out of my depth. But obviously now I've got a better idea of how big this update is actually going to be, so I can bench it without feeling too bad. And of course we can just keep working on it continuously throughout the future as well. So yeah, if you were looking forward to a massive visual enchantments update, I do apologize because it's not coming anytime soon. But the next update, 0.19, is definitely going to include our first visual enchantments for at least the swords and the tools, and maybe some additional things if I do get around to it as well. So yeah, anyway, thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you in the next update. So yeah, I do have some other plans for videos coming out on the channel soon. I do really want to get started on our data pack series. Obviously we're going to be looking into things like world generation, custom recipes, custom loot tables, all the stuff that's built into Minecraft, and of course advertising that as best as I can to try and get more people to come to the channel. So yeah, we already hit 600. Thank you very much for that. The subscribers are rising every day. If you are new to the channel, welcome. I do try and make videos at least every week if I can. The only time I ever don't really is if I'm busy, and that's it really. So thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next update. Take care, and bye-bye.